On number 12, we're taking the limit as x approaches negative infinity. So if you substitute that in right there and square it, negative infinity squared is positive infinity, plus 1 is still infinity. Take the square root, it's infinity. So this part right here would become a positive infinity, and that's a negative infinity. And with negative infinity plus infinity, it does not always equal 0. It can equal other things. It depends on how fast this one is going to negative infinity and how fast that one's going to positive infinity. If one of them is going faster than the other, they're going to win and dominate the problem. Well, let's see. In order to simplify this, I'm going to use the conjugate, x minus this square root. And so multiply by the conjugate. And if you multiply on the top, you have to multiply on the bottom. So this is going to be the limit as x approaches negative infinity. And then on the top, when you multiply a conjugate, you need the first one times the first one, that's x squared. And with the middle terms, they're going to cancel. I just need the last one times the last one. And the radical times the radical will eliminate the radical. So it's going to be minus an x squared plus 1. And then just recopy the denominator. Now has this x minus the square root. And then we would have x squared minus x squared, so they cancel. All that's left on the top is a negative 1. Okay, now if you compare that to the original problem, you might say, well, that's pretty similar. The only difference is this is a minus. That's important because x is going to negative infinity, which means this is going to negative infinity. When you square negative infinity, it's positive infinity. When you take the square root, that's also positive infinity. But now it's minus. And negative infinity with another negative infinity is negative infinity. So this one is going to negative 1 gets divided by negative infinity. And then the negatives will cancel out. And 1 divided by infinity is 0. So the answer should be 0. Which then tells me as these two were racing, this one was racing to positive infinity and this one's racing to negative infinity, they basically did it at the same rate. So if this one was a positive 10, then that one was a negative 10 and they cancel each other out. That's what that's telling me. But I want to graph it and make sure that I did it right. So the original problem was x plus the square root of x squared plus 1. And now I need to set the window so I can see what's happening as x goes to negative infinity. Or in other words, this needs to be like, I'll go with negative 1,000. And this part, I could just put 0. And since I got the answer 0, then my y values should include 0. So negative 1 to 1 looks good. And then graph. And you can see the function right here is very, very, very close to 0. And you trace, and you can see that the answer is very close to 0. And as I follow it out to the left, farther and farther, that's going to become 0.